Welcome everyone to the July 22nd, 2020 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Present.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Present.
Mrs. Miller Herrera is absent but available by phone. Mr. Signor?
Present.
And Mr. Tomazone.
Present.
So there's 4 present and 1 absent but available by phone.
Okay, would you all please stand for the pledge? And Joe, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance to the
to
flag
the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation.
nation, under God,
Indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe. Okay, first order of business tonight under Supervisor's Report. I just have something to read having to do with our annual report for MS4. So the Town of Rotterdam's MS4 annual report has been completed. The report summarizes the town's efforts and progress with the requirements listed in the MS4 permit. The report can be reviewed by the public at the Department of Public Works by appointment during normal business hours, and a copy has been placed on the town's website at www.rotterdamny.org for review. I also have a proclamation this evening, which I'm just going to read through for the 50th anniversary of the Capital District Transportation Authority. So, proclamation, whereas the Capital District Transportation Authority, CDTA, has been named the best mid-sized public transportation system in North America for 2017 by the American Public Transportation Association. And whereas CDTA's ridership has been at record or near record levels, reaching a record high of 17.1 million riders in one fiscal year, and a 25% increase in ridership over the past 6 years. And whereas CDTA has recently focused on improving taxi services, bike share services, deals with major employers, new transit centers, and creating universal access programs, which represent 25% of all CDTA's boardings in the system. And whereas CDTA is looking towards continued improvements, such as offering a safe environment for the community and connecting towns and cities that have been previously challenging to connect with a cohesive transportation network in order to ensure community members can expand their horizons. Now, therefore, I, Stephen Tomazone, Supervisor of the Town of Rotterdam, New York, on behalf of the Town Board, Town Administration, and the citizens of the Town of Rotterdam, hereby congratulate the Capital District Transportation Authority on their 50th anniversary and encourage all citizens to utilize CDTA's award-winning services. So we'll send that over to them. We've been fortunate in working with them. We had new location there by Golub, and hopefully have a few more coming in the over the years here for people to have a safe place to wait for the bus. So all good stuff. So congratulations, CDTA. Now we have our public hearings. So we'll go into public hearing 1 at this time. Ms. Marco, would you please read public hearing 1?
To amend Chapter 267 Water to repeal Section 267-9G of the Code of the Town of Rotterdam and adopt a new subpart G related to lawn sprinkling.
Okay, do we have anyone on public hearing 1 at this time? There's somebody who called in. I'm not sure. Someone's showing up as call-in user 2. Would you like to speak on public hearing 1? I can't hear anything. Anyone hear anything? No. Okay, anyone else on public hearing 1 at this time? Anyone else on public hearing 1 at this time? Okay, we'll before I close the public hearing, I just like to mention very quickly we've codified our water sprinkling regulations for our water districts. What will happen is this information will be published in the newspaper, and eventually what we'll do is we'll have this all on our town website at some point in the near future, so that people know when to water between May 1 through September 15th. And most of this has to do with basically our firematics and other issues when it comes to spikes in usage. And obviously, as you know, during this time where many more people are home in their homes, working from home, there has been a much greater demand on our water. And this also will assist us in doing things a little smarter as far as watering in the overnights for those folks who have sprinkling systems already installed in their properties. So the details will be out there soon, but we'll close the public hearing if there's no one to be heard. Okay, no one else on public hearing 1? All right, declare public hearing 1 closed at this time. Ms. Marco, let's go to public hearing 2.
Amend Chapter 244, Solid Waste, Garbage, Recycling, Brush, Grass and Leaves to add Subpart I to Section 244-12, Non-Recyclable Waste, Yard Waste, Packaging, Scavenging to include a permit process limiting the usage of the town's compost transfer facility to residents of the town of Rotterdam.
Okay, anyone like to be heard on public hearing 2? Anyone like to be heard on public hearing 2? Okay, anyone like to be heard on public hearing 2? So on public hearing 2, I'll just mention that our permitting process is going to be simplified. We also you'll have an ability as a resident to apply for the permit right online. That's something that we'll be putting live onto our website soon. You will see over the next several months even more enhancements to permitting and other, I guess I want to say, other ways that you can authorize business with the town online. The Town of Rotterdam Compost Transfer Facility will be limited to use by town residents only. Persons wishing to utilize the compost transfer facility shall apply for a permit on a form approved by the town and submit a copy of a valid New York State Department of Motor Vehicle registration of their vehicle used to transport the combustible material to the facility to the town clerk to obtain a permit, which shall be issued, which shall only be issued solely to town residents. The permit shall be renewable each calendar year. So again, you'll be able to apply online and so on. And we'll have other accommodations for residents who can not access online services in that way. And we'll work through that as well. But I wanted you to know that that's what we're doing. Anyone else on public hearing 2? Okay, we'll declare public hearing 2 closed at this time. Public hearing 3, Ms. Marco?
To create Chapter 224, Real Property Tax Law Exemptions to add Subpart A to extend the veterans exemption to Gold Star parents and Subpart B to extend the veterans exemption to veterans with an existing exemption when the purchase a home in Rotterdam during the same fiscal year.
Okay, anyone want to be heard on public hearing 3 at this time? Anyone like to be heard on public hearing 3 at this time? Anyone like to be heard on public hearing 3 at this time? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. This is so that there's not a break, if you will, in receiving something that, let's say, is a benefit, but for service, particularly for Gold Star parents. So, no one on
Steve,
public hearing 3?
Can I just add, I just want to ask one question. When it says when the, can't that be changed to they, or you got to do a whole big?
Where are you?
Where I read it with an existing exemption when the purchase a home, it's when they
That's
purchase
they,
a
yeah,
home.
that's a they.
But can that be corrected without an ordeal, or?
Yeah, that's yeah, no,
Well, I'm sorry, because when I ever ask, I just know it has to be.
yeah, it's okay.
I
So
mean,
the
Kate,
actual,
is it okay?
I'll make a motion to change the word the to they.
I don't, Diane, you didn't say what you were reading, so I don't know if you're reading the short form or the actual backup.
okay.
Would be
I'm reading the
draft
public
law.
hearing number 3.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
so
I mean, if we can't make it they, no big deal.
Well, we'll change it. We'll edit that.
Okay.
We'll edit that. So, so when someone purchases a home, and this is to also include a Gold Star parent within the definition of qualified owner of the real property tax law, section 458A. and again, extends that, that exemption to them. Okay, no one like to be heard on public hearing 3. We'll declare public hearing 3 closed at this time. And let's move into public comment privilege of the floor. Anyone like to be heard on any resolution before us this evening? Anyone in the public comment privilege of the floor? You have 4 minutes to speak. What I'll do is at 3 minutes, when you get to about 3 minutes, I'll put my hand up so that you know it's 3 minutes, and ask you to just be cognizant that when I put my hand up a second time, to show that for your 4 minutes, you're at 4 minutes, and just try to wrap up your comments in as short a time as possible. Anyone like to be heard under public comment privilege of the floor tonight? No? Okay, let's move into the resolutions then. Resolution 19320.
Amend Resolution Number 146 of 2020 to appoint individuals to various seasonal and/or part-time positions at the indicated rates of pay for the year 2020.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Guidarelli. Okay, anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, Resolution 19320 passes. Resolution 19420.
Appoint town employees Phyllis Horvath and Sharon Hoy Tallman as duly appointed representatives of the Town of Rotterdam Town Board for the purposes of enforcement of the Code of the Town of Rotterdam pursuant to Section 265-13, Enforcement and Compliance, and to Section 270-170, Designation of Enforcement Official.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Mr. Signor, a second, please.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Christou. Anyone on the question?
Mr. Supervisor, by representatives of the town of Rotterdam for enforcement, what is their purpose going to be?
So what these two part-time employees that we already have on staff are going to be doing is assisting in the code enforcement and compliance on real property in our town.
All right, so basically all these backlogs, we're hiring them to kind of catch up with everything.
Well, I don't know if I'd say backlogs, but let's say recurring problems,
Okay,
right? And also it's about documenting in particular documenting the repeat offenders and ensuring that we have photographic evidence and other affidavit evidence to show that these properties are not in compliance. So, you know, our Department of Public Works Code Enforcement issues a warning, basically saying, look, you're not in compliance. You remedy this within so many days. They don't do it.
we notified you on July 15th, August 4th, and September 10th.
Whatever it is, we need the documentation to show that we have. It's not just us seeing it; it's also us taking pictures and then seeing it on that day and filing the appropriate documentation so that our town attorney and can enforce our codes and be more successful, if you will, in people that are continuing to be non-compliant with our code. Just like the email you and I received today regarding property where that's had garbage there, Evan, for what, 2 weeks now?
Almost, yeah, at least 2, if not 3 or 4.
Yeah. So, more will be done, and that's what that's about. Anyone else on 19420?
Mr. Supervisor, I just want to comment. Mr. Christou said, I think something in regard to hiring. These people currently work for the town already.
That's right.
These are just additional duties we're delegating to them.
Correct.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that they're not hired. And I know Evan knew that, but for anyone listening, I just want to make sure.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else on 19420? Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Signor and a second by Mr. Christou. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent, Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Thomasone.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, resolution 194-20 passes. I just looked out the window here today.
It's pouring.
Okay, 195-20.
Amend order number 3 of 2020 to have an effective date of June 24th, 2020.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Signor, second by Mr. Christou.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Signor, second by Mr. Christou. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou,
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent, Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Thomasone.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, resolution 195-20 passes. Resolution 196-20.
Authorize the supervisor to execute a no-cost change order with Utility Service Company, Incorporated, located at 535 Courtney Hodges Boulevard, Perry, Georgia, 31069, to amend the Davis-Bacon wage rates included in the contract to comply with the 10-day rule set forth by 29 CFR 1.6C3I, and to also grant a time extension due to the early onset of winter.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou,
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent, Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Thomasone.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, resolution 196-20 passes. Resolution 197-20.
Adopt local law number 9 of the year 2020 for the following purpose: to create Chapter 224 real property tax law exemptions, to add Subpart A to extend the veterans exemption to Gold Star parents, and Subpart B to extend the veterans exemption to veterans with an existing exemption when the purchase of a home in Rotterdam during the same fiscal year. Public hearing was called for at the town board meeting of June 24th, 2020. The public hearing was held at the town board meeting of July 22nd, 2020.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor
Yes.
and Mr. Gitterelli. Okay, so 187, anyone on the question? Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Christou and a second by Mr. Signor. Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christou,
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent, Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Thomasone.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, resolution 197-20 passes. Resolution 198-20.
Authorize a supervisor to enter into agreement with Greenman Peterson Incorporated, GPI, 80 Wolf Road, Suite 300, Albany, New York, 12205, for preparation of a map plan and report for a proposed Sartoli Avenue Water District extension to Water District Number 5 in an amount not to exceed $6,500, subject to permissive referendum.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou,
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent, Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Thomasone.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, resolution 198-20 passes. Resolution 199-20.
Declare the town board as lead agency and authorizes the town planner to prepare, file, publish, and distribute all documents necessary to comply with NYCRR Part 617 and State Environmental Quality Review relative to the proposed Sartoli Avenue Kings Road Water District 5 Extension and Drainage Improvement Project.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou,
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent, Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Thomasone.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, resolution 199-20 passes. Now we have order number 4 having to do with the prior couple of resolutions here. So Ms. Marco, would you read order 4-20?
The Town Board of the Town of Rotterdam hereby orders the adoption of these above stated findings as contained in the map, plan, and report annexed hereto, and acknowledges all applicable provisions of the New York State Town Law Article 12A and the law and rules of the state of New York. The town clerk of the Town of Rotterdam is hereby directed to post on the signboard of the town maintained pursuant to subdivision 6 of section 30 of the town law of the state of New York, and published in the official newspaper of the Town of Rotterdam no later than August 8th, 2020. A full copy of this order and the notice of a public hearing provided for by the following public notice. Town of Rotterdam notice of hearing. Call for a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 7 p.m. The public hearing is open to the public and persons may attend telephonically. Members of the public may listen to and or speak at the public hearing by dialing 1-929-205-6099, then entering the conference ID number 867-0373-0307, followed by the pound symbol. The public hearing will be held electronically via a video conference for the town board and a conference call for all members of the public for the following purpose. Establishment of Sartoli Avenue extension of Water District 5. The proposed Sartoli Avenue extension of Water District 5 consists of the 5 residential parcels along Sartoli Avenue, construction of plus or minus 530 LF of 6 inches plastic water main with 2 fire hydrants, 1 intermediate and 1 end of line, and to provide 7 service connections to the dwelling units with frontage along Sartoli Avenue. In addition, the project will add a new fire hydrant on Rome Avenue within the town right-of-way. The boundaries of the proposed district extension are detailed and described in the map in Appendix G and F of the July 20th, 2020 map plan and report, Sartoli Avenue Water District Extension, Town of Rotterdam, New York. The maximum proposed cost for this project is $100,000. The town plans to bond the proposed project for 30 years at an estimated 3.5% interest rate. The district annually will be charged operation and maintenance costs based on the 2019 rate of 0.344785 per 1,000 of assessed parcel value, with a median cost of $47.58 per user. The total annual debt service responsibility totals $76.97 per EDU to the typical property. The current annual consumption fee is $75 per household for residential and commercial parcels. The cost to a typical 1 or 2 family home is $199.55. Additionally, there currently is one-time $35 waste service permit fee, as well as water service tap fees of $1,100 plus $4 a foot of water service if on same side of the street, and $1,500 plus $4 foot of water service if on the opposite side of the street. The town board may consider waiving this connection fee in order to encourage connections and to help alleviate the cost of connection pending review of funding options. The town resolution establishing the proposed district is subject to permissive referendum as provided by New York State town law. The public presentation of the map, plan, and report in accordance with New York State town law related to the creation of the proposed Sartoli extension of Water District 5 will occur again at this time. The map, plan, and report is available for public inspection in the office of the Rotterdam Town Clerk by appointment due to the restrictions put in place pursuant to the executive law order of the state of New York, and in the public interest, it shall also be available at www.rotterdamny.org. The town clerk of the town of Rotterdam shall also file a certified copy of this order of the town board on August 10th, 2020 with the New York State Office of the State Comptroller. I'm done.
Sorry.
That's okay.
For order number 4-20, I need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Sigmar. Okay. So just very quickly on this order, We are reaching out to our state legislative officials for some assistance. I know that Assemblyman Santa Barbara has already approached us, and I don't know what will happen there, but to tell you that we'll be reaching out to Senator Amador as well. But I would also like to say that the residents on Sartoli have been very patient, and more importantly, we're working very hard to bring the cost to make it affordable, particularly since that area has been inundated for years and years with stormwater from the greater High Bridge area. And these residents that are there are all on wells, as you know, the board knows that. Further, I'd like to also thank the county, because Schenectady County is putting money into this project, has already assisted us with some of the funds for the clearing and the drainage work that needs to be accomplished in this area. That's all part of this this project. So this project isn't just about making sure that the residents there have our great potable water, but it's also to alleviate the stormwater issues that have plagued that area for, I want to say decades. I know it's been several years, but I might be off by some time there. So I want to thank the board here for the last few years, kind of working through the steps to get us to where we are now, and hopefully we can get this project out to bid and completed sometime next year, I would imagine. But if we can get into it this year, we will. And let's just see how the funding streams happen. We're all being challenged right now. Obviously, we are too. So this is going to be a very, very difficult financial year for the town. It's been very difficult for the county, and obviously for the state and the federal government as well. So we'll see where things go. But I want to thank you for helping us to get this moving along, continuing to move along, I should say. So we have a motion by Mr. Christou and a second by Mr. Signor. Anyone else on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gittarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay. Order 420 is in motion. Passes. Resolution 220.
A resolution authorizing agreement pursuant to New York State Highway Law 284 between the town board and the highway superintendent to establish a paving plan for 2020 and allow payment for the town of Rotterdam road paving 2020 fiscal year in an amount not to exceed $427,322.39.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Okay, who's that?
I beat Evan on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, give it to
I
Steve.
agree.
A little slow
We have a
today.
motion by Mr. Signor.
Notice it on the other one too.
Is there a second, please? We have a motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, okay. Second by Mr. Christou. Anyone on the question? So on the question, I just want to make a few brief comments. First of all, the amount that we are funding here includes our CHIPS money and other funds that we had allocated within our budget. And frankly, if we weren't in this situation that we're in with COVID and revenues are down, I would be asking you to put more money forth for more paving. Having said that, the state had issued a letter to our highway superintendent, basically notifying us that perhaps there would be a decrease about 20% in CHIPS funding. Now, we don't know that that's going to happen, but I want to let you know that that we're committed as a board, once we pass this resolution, that if that were to happen, we have to cobble money together from other sources within our budget to make sure that we pay for these roads to be paved. So I want you to know that if you see in the future, near future, you see some budget transfers for this particular spend, that would be the reason why we would be doing that, because we would be in receipt of or notification of a potential decrease in our CHIPS money, our highway paving money. Okay? So having said that, I'll just briefly tell you what roads are on here, and forgive me if I don't give you the intersections. That'll take just too long. But and there are many roads in town that need attention. We know that also. The highway superintendent, Mr. Lamora, and Fred Mastriani from GPI, as well as our highway committee, which is Mr. Signor and Ms. Miller Herrera, are working together on a number of fronts so that in the future we can go through and say potentially look at entire neighborhoods where we know we've had problems, where we know that the roads are not, the underlayment or the base of the roads are not what we need them to be. So it does not behoove us as taxpayers or as a board to be just topping those roads again when 8 years down the road we're going to be doing it again and again. That cost never declines. So know that there will be a process here where we will be pulling samples of the roads. We will be moving ahead to produce a much more comprehensive multi-year paving plan. And with that, what you will also see is some descriptions of when would be the appropriate time for us to potentially borrow money in order to get caught up on our roads. And that would only come from our budgeting process as well, where we see that we would have some additional funding or additional money that we could expend as we pay off other debt in our town. So as we pay off some debt, we'll look to maybe renew and bring in some more capital through a bond, but that will not happen overnight, and it would be something that we would all be obviously in discussion over. We're not going to just do that and without a plan again on how to pay for it. So the roads here, Boxwood Drive, Devendorf, Palmer, those are in the High Bridge neighborhood. Denver Avenue, Draper Avenue, Hendricks Street, Howe Avenue, Kent Street, B Street, Morton Street, Plunkett Avenue, Hudson Avenue, Stanton Street, Vischer Avenue. Those are all in the, we'll say the Draper School neighborhood, now Draper Lofts neighborhood. Cox Avenue, Edgewood Avenue, part of up by Jefferson School there on Five Corners. Phillips Road, Meadowview Lane, Brookview Court, and Old River Road. Those are in the western side of town, just off and around Princetown Road and River Road. Old River Road is off of West Campbell Road down by the Long Pond Village. So those are the roads on the paving list for this year. And we have a motion by Mr. Signor, a second by Mr. Christo. Anyone else on the question? I hope I did an adequate job for that. Just letting you know what our future plan is here. So Ms. Marco, would you call the roll on 200.20?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gittarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, resolution 200.20 passes. Resolution 201.20.
Authorize the BB Law Firm to enter into a stipulation of settlement on behalf of the Town of Rotterdam in the matter of Walmart Stores, Inc., 2264 versus Town of Rotterdam, ETAL, index number 2019-1576, Article 7, Real Property Tax Certiary, proceedings for the year 2009, for the tax year 2019.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Go ahead, Evan. You move.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Gittarelli. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gittarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, resolution 200-120 passes. Okay, now we have consent agenda for resolutions 202 through 212-20. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Supervisor, one question. I have a question on one of the consent agenda items. Do we make a motion and then ask the question, or do I ask the question now?
I'm going to just, kind of describe, all of them. But if you want to,
All right, let me make the
make a
motion, and then under discussion, I can
Yeah.
ask a question.
Mhm.
All right, Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion for resolutions 202-20 through 212-20 to be accepted as a consent agenda.
Okay, we have so we have a motion by Mr. Christou for consent agenda 202 through 212-20. Is there a second, please?
A second.
Okay, second by Mr. Signor. So, so on the question, which resolution would you like to?
On 203-20, I see we're getting a new copy machine for downstairs, and clearly the rate is very good. Is that a color copy machine? Is that a strict, and because usually color copies are a different rate, and then that could really blow things up if we don't know that rate. I looked at the contract, I don't seem to see it. Or is this a straight black and white union?
So, let me just double check on that for you, because now that you say that, I don't remember.
No, because
The
they give you a
department,
really good rate, and then they charge you 5 to 10 cents a copy on the color copy, and then that's where you really get pummeled if you're putting out color copies for presentations and things.
Hang on one second. I'll get to it. It'll just take me a moment.
Okay, well, that's my only question. The black and white weight of 0.8 of one for 1 cent is very good.
So 203, it says in the backup, the lease is coming to an end. So we are, let's just see here what we got. We've got a copier with see a description. 50,000 impressions. I'm getting there. I think I'm getting there.
Somebody's volume's turned up a little high, that's all.
Yours is too high or mine's too high?
Somebody's is. Let me check mine right
So
now.
the current lease cost for the one they have down there that I'm aware of is, and that was, I don't think that one's a color one.
No, it's black and white. You're right,
It's
Steve.
black and white.
All right,
Yeah,
so if it's
right?
straight black and white, then
So
there's
it's,
no
it's a
cut.
black and white. This is to replace that one.
Okay,
Mhm.
So that's the one. Yeah, it's a straight
Okay.
black and white copy.
yeah, because I didn't see a color rate in there, and
No, yeah, it doesn't say it does, it just doesn't say that here. I don't see it where it just stands out in this either. But that's the replacing the one that's down there. I went a little further into the detail here. So yeah, that's just a straight black and white copy. I think the color ones is like 260. I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
If you
okay.
get one of these, I think it's like $100 more a month. if I recollect.
All right. Good enough. All right, I don't have any other questions.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Christou, second by Mr. Signor on the consent agenda for these resolutions. So I want to just go through here and get to a few of them here. So I just want to, so 204 and 205 with the retainer agreements with Barclay Damon and also Gervin and Ferlazzo with the, so without saying too much, because I don't want to violate personnel and privacy issues, if you will. With COVID and other challenges with personnel related matters. That's why we're entering into those retainer agreements. 206-20 is to establish the ratio of homestead and non-homestead tax rates. That's purely a mathematical computation based upon the assessed valuation of commercial, if you will, versus residential properties. And then the tax rates come out from that, if you recall. 207 has to do with moving funds in order to pay for field work that we voted on prior, that we authorized for the ball fields at Memorial Park. And then 208 is just let me go to that as well. So 208, what that's about is, so as appointed or elected officials, what happens is the state of New York asks us to come up with some backup to reflect what it is that we are, that we're doing. So in other words, as we're working, how many hours it is that we put in. So with my, I did my calculations over a few months, and it was earlier this year that I did that before everything else actually happened here. But so I had, so that's what that's about. So you'll see that I'm claiming about 21 hours per month. That is what 6 hours per day, 20 based on 21 days per, that's not right. Work day, 6 hours, 21. So when you look at the total time, basically what I'm showing is I'm showing a very low percentage of time that I'm working, if you will, for in the job as supervisor, because there's a part-time position. So the standard work day at the town is 6 hours, and per day is what they're basically putting in here. But I can give you the actual calculation. I don't like the way that looks. That doesn't. I mean, it looks right, but but then again, it doesn't look right when I'm reading this. Probably shouldn't have said anything right now, because now I've got to go back.
It's not that 6 hours per day.
Not 6 hours,
Per
no.
day at the town. It's that the state and local retirements
Here it is.
sets that as the lowest possible hour, and so
Correct.
that's how they look for reporting.
Right.
That a full-time day and the lowest it can possibly be is 6 hours, and that tends to be for a bus driver in a school district.
Yeah, so, but the number of hours.
Word it that way, and it looks that way when you're looking at it.
But the number of hours that are actually reported for me are very, very low, because I do put in time each day, but it's not doesn't rise to being a full-time position in any way, or a prime time position in any way. And in order to reflect that appropriately, like my time, I think last year was reflected as 0.2 or 0.18 or something, of a full FTE. It was very, very low. So just to give you some indication. And what happens with that, just so you know, that when you're reporting in that way, there are elected officials like Ms. Marco and others who work full time. So they're obviously 1 FTE. For the rest of us, including the town board members and other appointed officials that are on the boards, their time is minuscule. You're talking about a handful of hours a month, or 10 hours a month. And so if they were in the retirement system at some point, or they're in another position in the state retirement system somewhere, say they work for the state, they get allocated credit for the time, but not necessarily, how that computes to their as a computation for the retirement. It's a little bit convoluted, but it does work. So if you're making 2 wages, your wages are calculated. You're not going to get over one FTE. But if you're below that, then that extra credit. So if you're working half time someplace, another municipality, and you're working 20 hours out of 40, and then you're working someplace else in a neighboring municipality because you happen to be in an elected position or something like that, you might get another 5 hours a week or 6 hours a week.
I'm a good example of that because I work full time for the public defender's office, so I don't expect to get anything above my 35-hour per week pension.
Right. So that's all, and that's all a matter of public record too. So if someone wants to check that, like my mom, she can do that. She says I work too much. Okay, so. The other resolutions here are strictly the declaring some equipment obsolete, so we can get some more of our storage areas cleaned out. We have a lot more to go, and vehicles and stuff like that. Town clerk's report, the budget transfers, and then the approval of the meeting minutes from our prior meeting on June 24th. So we have a motion by Mr. Christou and a second by Mr. Signor. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gittarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, so resolutions, 20220 through 21220 all pass. Okay, does anyone have anything under committee reports or anything under miscellaneous this evening that they'd like to bring up?
Mr. Supervisor, I would just like to mention and urge residents to go to our town website often to see what's there, see documents that are published, forms that may be needed, and to sign up for the communication portal that sends out notifications when documents are posted to the website.
Thank you, Mr. Goodrell. Okay. Mr. Signor or Mr. Christou, anything? So I'll just mention a couple things. We have some items that we'll be bringing up over the next, I'll say 30 to 45 days. Again, just more for our, as recognition of our 200th anniversary this year and some other good things that are going on here. But Steve likes to talk about this, but I'm going to do it tonight because
It's about the beer.
last time. So the Pilsner is available at the back barn. So and we're going to be doing some hopefully some more work around that as well. And
I have not been asked to get a test sampler though, Mr. Supervisor.
that's what we have to do. That's part of it.
And I have made 2 requests and they have both been rebuked. I don't know.
If that beer is available, I'm willing to put it on my tap at the restaurant.
Yeah, and that's not something we really need to talk about here. But at the same time,
Well, it should be sampled by somebody from the board first. Don't you agree, Evan?
Well, sure.
I had asked for us to schedule something, so we are that will get scheduled over the next week or two. So when you get a phone call, an email from either the office here or from myself, let me know. I am volunteering to be the DD. I can bring everybody over there. So you let me know, and we can do that.
So, Mr. Supervisor, I just want to clarify, it is available, you said now?
That's what I'm understanding.
Okay.
But we need to do something official, so we need to work on that very soon. The senior center is almost, we're almost there with the senior center. We do have we'll be putting out a little bit more press and some other notifications around the ribbon cutting and grand reopening, which will be September 1st. And so we'll get some of that going as well. The work has been done here at Town Hall. There's a lot more to do, but especially outside. So we'll be starting some of the outside work. I shouldn't say starting. We'll be completing the outside work when the weather gets a little cooler. Right now, our parks and Department of Public Works are really focused on the parks and some of the other, I'll say, tasks that we have out there that kind of got put a little bit behind by COVID and other things. If those of you have been, hearing from residents about, our parks and so on like that. So, I had folks asking me about when they were going to get the basketball hoops back up. Not soon enough, but we'll get there. So, it's challenging times. We all have to be patient with each other, and I just wanted to thank the town staff for what they're doing. Thank all of you for what you're doing, and let's not lose sight that we all are. We're not just here helping further the town's business, but we're all neighbors with each other. We all been around here for a while, and I'd like us all to just continue to do what we're doing, which is lately things have been going very well, I think. If you're hearing anything, if you hear of anybody in need, I know I've said this before, please, get that word to me or to Mr. Christou or to one of the board members, as well. If there's anything going on somewhere that you would like us to see, or you have, some of your neighbors that may be having some difficulty, some family members, please reach out to us if there's ways for us to help through the county or through the state or through some nonprofit. Don't hesitate, because that's what we're here for. Many of us are working from home. My full-time job, I'm working from home. Not that anybody needs to know this, but I won't be going on vacation this year. I was going to send that all out in an email, but I'll just tell you all.
We're pretty much on lockdown anyway. Where can we go?
Well,
Europe doesn't want us. 41 states are more infected than we are. Canada doesn't want us.
I want.
I've got a workaround on that, and here's what it is.
Steve, no, Steve, don't go there. Don't go
Well, no. I figure I can go to St. Thomas, St. Croix, and Puerto Rico because it's not considered international travel, and it's not on the New York watch list either.
This doesn't stop. So anyway, what I will say is that you'll be getting an email from me. So I'm going to be taking some time off from work, but I'll be here half days or full days over the next 6 to 8 weeks at town hall. So I'll be saying that to the board members in case, so that you all know if there's something that you want to do, something that you want to work on, you want to have a meeting or something like that, you'll know specifically that I'll be here, and we can do that. Just tell you ahead of time now. I will be having some discussions regarding the budget sooner than later, and it's going to be a big challenge. But I think that we've proven that we can work together and we'll get through it. And, I'm committed to not lay people off. I'm committed to make sure that if we're going to do anything here, we do it through attrition. As I've said to you before, the difficulty with that is that, sometimes people can be under, probation with the town in their position, and for whatever reason, they're not a good fit for the department or for us. That's different. But when it comes to looking at, strictly laying people off, as some communities are doing, I don't want to go there. And so I want you to know that. So when we're doing this budget, you're not going to see that. You will see some reductions through attrition. You may see some different positions there. So as we see attrition happen, I may be looking to consolidate positions from an administrative perspective or a task-oriented perspective. And as we've all talked about, especially of late, with COVID and with getting new systems here at the town, which we had planned anyway, again, we're going to be just doing more with our technology. We're going to spend money there because long-term, it's not just saving money, but it'll make us be more effective. And I think you'll see more efficacy between the departments and between the people that work for us, and more importantly, better access by the public. So we're not trying to just drive everything to the web because it's easier for us. We're driving stuff to the web to make it easier for our residents to access services at the town. But if there's anything that you need, like I said, as a resident of the town or business owner, please reach out to us. And again, you'll see a lot more changes. And what Mr. Guidarelli just said about getting on our website and getting your email address in there so we can send you notification. There's some other things we're going to be making more and more enhancements to the website. So that's why you really need to be on there. You need to have that access and get that alert so that you know where we are. And frankly, if residents have some ideas, business owners have some ideas for us around how to be more efficient, please reach out to one of the board members. Let them know. Reach out to me. Let's talk through it and get. I want our town to bounce back faster than we got into this thing. So that's all I got. Anybody else?
Well, the good news, Mr. Supervisor, at least about all the time that you're going to have to yourself now is you can maybe dust off that sousaphone or start taking up the lessons again.
Okay, here we go again.
Oh, dear gosh.
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Time. Always on the right time there, Evan.
Okay, we have a motion by
I'm
Mr.
perfect.
Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I want to thank everybody for your attention. Thank the board for being here. Ms. Marco, Ms. McGurl, Ms. Osta, Ms. Duncan, and Mr. Lamora, and residents of the town. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.